Thursday, July 10th, 2024 at 2 p.m. I am calling to order the July meeting of the Public Art Committee in the second floor media room at City Hall. Megan, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Toth.
Here.
Ms. Arbitello.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Taylor is not here yet. Ms. Wood.
Here.
Biba Christopoulos has an excused absence. Chair Jennings.
Here. Okay, I see we have 4 guests today. If you could, we follow the same procedure as the Board of Commissioners, so if you could just come to the podium briefly and just give your name and address. Thank you all.
Am I supposed to talk now?
No, just, it's just introduction of guests.
Carol Mickett, 735 Chesapeake Drive, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689.
Robert Stackhouse, 735 Chesapeake Drive, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689.
Thank you, Robert.
David Archie, 512 East Martin Luther King Jr. Drive.
Thank you. Stephen? It's,
All the same.
yeah.
Stephen Oliver, 2516 11th Street South, St. Pete, Florida, 33705.
Great, thank you all.
In Tarpon Springs often.
Okay, our next order of business is the approval of the minutes. Can I entertain a motion to approve?
I'll make it.
Nick, okay, second.
Second.
Graham. Is there any discussion, any comments, corrections?
Nope.
Okay, Megan, can you call the roll, please, to approve the minutes as submitted?
Yes. Mr. Toth.
Yes.
Ms. Arbitello.
Yes.
Chair Jennings.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Okay, just so you folks on the committee know, sometimes when we just do a hand vote or voice vote, it's unclear in the recording, so from now on, we're going to be doing roll call votes going forward, okay? All right, since we have guests, usually what we do in consideration of guests' time and, the fact that they came here, I would like to suggest that we deal with the, we have another guest. While you're there, Juliana, could you just state your name and address just your name and address at the podium?
Juliana Day, 413 East Oakwood Street, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689.
Thank you. Okay. We have under new business a topic relating to a letter that was written by former Mayor David Archie. So I think I'd like to have that done first, move it up. I just wanted to preface this by saying that our artist, Stephen Oliver, who's also in attendance, and the city have a signed contract outlining the roles and responsibilities of the artist. So as far as the PAC is concerned, this project is finished. This is not a consideration for the PAC, but we are allowing an open forum to allow former Mayor Archie and Mr. Oliver to discuss the issue of former Mayor Archie to remove certain images from this Mr. Oliver's sculpture at the Cap Center. So if we could, Mayor Archie, if you would like to kick off this discussion, please.
I think it would be very appropriate that since all of you have the letter, just respond to what I have in the letter. I don't want to I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I'm going to stay around because there's some other things that I want to talk about. But I've asked that my family pictures be removed. I'm just, they said that this committee would be handling that, so I'm coming to find out when it's going to be removed.
All right.
So I think that it would be appropriate for, if it's not you, for Mr. Oliver to tell me that.
Mr. Oliver, would you please come to the podium? And
Sure.
And I'd like to just note that Ms. Taylor has arrived at 2:05.
Okay, so I'll try to be, well, I don't try to be brief. But anyway, I'm gonna address that letter and the image, and that's kind of, it's an important issue. Mr. Archer didn't get, and other people didn't get to attend the unveiling on Monday, which I really appreciate. Thank you for all that. And I think it was wonderful. At that unveiling, I expressed, the mayor said he's all done and all that, thank you and everything. And I said, yes, I appreciate it, but I also feel like I owe the community something. I owe you the encouragement, because this was a really sort of a courageous and visionary thing essentially to do, starting with the conversation that Joan, you had with people in the community, generating an idea, all this energy about the committee coming together. And so it's kind of like, I think that why I'm starting like this is because I don't want to lose the context. And that's been the danger throughout this, is that if one conversation or comment or issue gets sort of mixed up and gets mixed into the the atmosphere and gets dislocated from the realities of all that groundwork, as well as the physical work, and everything goes into this, it spins into something else. I feel like that's kind of somehow how this precipitated. Mr. Archer and I've had many cordial conversations there at the site. Can't always find him or announce myself because he's busy with youth. They'll tell me, and that's important business, and all that feeds into my my decision making. There's a lot of research that went into this. As I said that this isn't just pictures stripped from a book and plastered up here. This is listening to interviews that were recorded by noted historians. This was like 70 articles just from the planning department on all Black history from before 1800 near the present. It was a number of books, including that one. That particular one is dear to my heart because when I first started this project, before the decision-making process even started, I bought some resources to read up on it so I could respond, right? Sometime later, I'm sitting at my cousin's kitchen table and I'm telling him about this. And he's like, well, I got family in Tarpon Springs. They wrote a book about it. I'm like, what, really? So I asked him, tell me what this book is. I waited a couple weeks. I finally texted him images from the book and I learned that he's related. Therefore, I am related to some of the very people in the book that I am researching, which blew my mind. And I think, again, feeds into what I call the miracle aspect of this, and there's many of them, and also sort of the complexity of it. So anyway, I'm excited by the book, and I believe the whole situation actually has a lot of silver linings. I believe this honestly, you should promote the book more, as well as the rest of the resources. The QR code that's suggested, I'm doubling down. It's a brilliant idea. And the reason that is we could never encapsulate all the history. We could never possibly do it. The fact that people are coming out of the woodwork is proof of that. There have been good comments, there's been criticisms or whatever, and reflections coming from different, I've encountered people who've told me local historical pictures. They've got conversations about national historical figures, and Google that. And there's been some good exchange. There's been good exchange from visitors on yachts while I was doing that. I don't want to get too far off in that, but the thing about art is it's bigger than the artist. And it's actually bigger than the community in a way, or it's bigger than all of us individually. And so that's really where I have to frame my comments, because if I just sort of respond to the next trauma, and there's been a series of them pinning down the site. One broke the morning after my father died. Thank goodness, I thanked the city manager. I said, thank you for your leadership, for just putting that in the barn and let me finish under a little less heat. And got that done. But the energy is not well spent by anybody, or it doesn't do anybody good, all that stuff. So I kind of feel like this is Mr. Archie, from what I know, and from what I go back and look at some of the commissioners' meetings, he's not a guy who seeks the limelight. He's well respected in the community. He, soft-spoken guy who works behind the scenes, there's a lot of strength there. A lot of strength. As a matter of fact, it verifies what I saw in that picture. When I saw the picture of him and his father, and I'm saying this very objective, independently, because I want you to know where that how it got there. There is an incredible bond and love in that picture and strength in that picture, and it also speaks of the generations. So when I started, the panel that we're speaking of is actually sort of like a layer of images. I had to do that for a number of reasons. Couldn't fit everything separately, but it also made it a more powerful image. I took a photograph of the side of the old church there, the rusticated block, which was uncovered, I think, recently, last couple of years. When I was reading about this, I realized, no, I got 3 generations of these black men. One, the latest one, celebrated as the mayor, which the community should celebrate. There's a whole thing about Black American history in that, which is a powerful thing to do. But then, and I'm an architect training too, and I'm like, his grandfather was an architect who designed that church. I'm like, this is too amazing. So that's why I layered those images. The one I took, the second one is an very early photograph, and the other one, of course, is Mr. Archie and his father, which I was reminded about the singing part, going back to the book and reading about it. So there's connection there. So my personal impetus for putting it there and my conviction on why I believe my recommendation would be to keep it there. And not for selfish reasons, because I believe it is a very powerful expression of the community. He didn't ask for this. It's like there's no favoritism. This is me doing my art thing. I'm sorry he felt, because of the tension around it, feels drawn into this. I'm kind of like, I feel like the picture would be great there, and for all those reasons, including the fact that, man, he works right there. It's facing that building. All those kids I come and see out of there, there's a venue, portal that they can directly connect to get into, learn about the history. That's all the rationale behind it, okay? But there's other layers. And these layers are not necessarily all fully expressed up front because they're busy chomping away working at the art. You got the right person to do this. And the reason is, there were 14 proposals. There was figurative stuff. There was nothing that fully captures the breadth that we were able to get into this because of the medium I chose, that specific medium, being able to collage all those images together, which came from a lot of sources. Nothing against the artists at all, but that's just the way it was. And I really credit the art committee for seeing the possibility in what initially was humble sketches, when I go look back at the originals, right? But the reason I'm good at synthesis and I have a background, it's architecture to begin with, but then it's furniture design and it's the sculpture stuff. It's a lot of construction and stuff doing myself, which enabled me to do this entire thing myself, which is a whole other discussion about keeping this contained within the budget. But I've worked for museums, including history museums and art museums, and I work in the context of community programs, and I've seen what happens. I've literally worked on collective mural projects with a team of artists coordinating this, getting the thing up. And I believe it was the Boys and Girls, the YWCA, national directors coming and visiting the site. Our mural's up around the front there, and they're walking in, encouraged by people stopping in their cars to look at what we put up. And everybody's winning here. The community looks at this thing fresh. The kids feel like a better sense of investment. The national funder walks in the door. What are they going to do? They're going to give that organization the next check. That's how it works, in a bigger sense. So the reason I'm saying all that is that, my recommendation, again, doesn't come from a selfish place. It comes from, I really believe it's a beautiful expression. I would rather look at it as honoring Mr. Archie and the family and thereby the African-American community in Tarpon Springs. But also, this project was about 2 sculptures, very different, in 1.6 miles apart. And early on, I realized, given all that background I told you about, that there was potential to, we obviously want to feel it, we want it connected, but physically it enables us to, it's like starting to build nodes on an infrastructure. There could be perhaps a Black History Trail in Tarpon Springs. If you want to write a grant for that, you've got the narrative right in the work that you already, this committee, starting with this committee, laid the foundation. And granted, as one of the people in the meetings mentioned, and it's true across all the country and a lot of parts of the world, the presence of African American history in the public is really deficient, and it's really a big problem. It's very painful for people. And it gives people a sense of they don't own anything. And I often go to places and it's like, where are all the black people? It's like, where are all the, they own this whole city or this town too. And you can go all over the nation and find this. It's because of that sense of, and so can we repair everything? That is a very tall order, difficult. But if we can take steps, which this project was an initial step, I believe, there are other things going on. I think it was a great step in terms of the arts and why I call it courageous in the context of the divisiveness we have in the country, that they would initiate this project here. That is a building block on which to build. So if I had my wish for where everything goes from here, I would like to see this project to be enabler of more things. And obviously there's a whole dialogue about art and history, which is an interesting dialogue, and there's a lot of interesting points coming from different perspectives. One thing it implies to me is that more organizations and more need to get involved. And again, everyone can benefit. We have a great historical society. We have a great heritage museum. We have a sponge district, which is starting to, it's going to evolve based on the guidance of some consultants. Carbon Springs is poised for a whole another wave of building on to have this cultural thread. And basically, thank you for enabling me to give you some of the ammunition, perhaps, to move forward. That might be in the form of grant writing for with different entities that take on different parts of this. What I did do, kind of be prepared for all, outcomes, was I looked through, there were some, when I had a misprint or an issue, I had to eat it, and I had to get a couple of those panels, and they're very expensive. I had to get them printed over. The upside of that is they had a few little extra pieces around. That's helpful. As I looked at it, I had one piece that could possibly swap out for that. Again, it's not at all what I want to do. I'm simply doing this more out of being a prayer for all outcomes. But I have a couple panels which could also perhaps be placed in different locales, which is something we can talk about, and I'll show those to you at some point. So that we can, for instance, there could be something sitting at the Heritage Museum, a little sign or something, just telling people to go where to see this sculpture, where to see this artwork. So we're beginning to, that's, I believe, what is needed in the whole bigger picture. So that's kind of, I think that's everything I meant to mention. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things in there, but I did skip over quickly. Remember when the planning department got the grant to do the cultural survey in Union Academy neighborhood? I ran right over there and this was the reason. It wasn't because there was any obviously direct benefit I would get out of it or anything, but it was the idea if we knew what each of what they were doing, maybe I just had a feeling there could be something. So I just believe that by laying the groundwork of sort of this good work versus focus on the controversies or whatever, or which maybe come in 11th hour, or maybe come in before they even be able to finish and process, or before the artist is finished running around putting fires and actually can explain what he's doing, what he did. So I have a write-up on what the art actually, what I did it. And one thing that dawned on me this morning again was that, the way I layered that image I was describing of Mr. Archie and his family, that was one technique. When we talk about this art and history thing, I was like, this is one of the things that art and design are powerful about, because it's I didn't have to do a didactic description, but I'm literally implying connections and making people to want to inquire. And it looks just like at a static picture of one person. Maybe they know him, maybe they don't. If they don't know him, then it's okay, what? So that's true of the whole sculpture, where there are background images and foreground and adjacencies and things that are meant to tie in color, scheme, theme-wise within panels and with the other sculpture, again, another thing I want to bring, the connection between that particular family line and that church, which is the last architectural remnant of that whole era. The people I'm related to actually were founding members, indirectly through my cousins, my uncle who married in that family. The sculpture does that through that particular image, but it also has that whole panel with Rose Cemetery. It's deliberately a gate because it's a gate defining Rose Cemetery, and that panel is dedicated to Rose Cemetery. The reason is to try to connect all this. So that's where I would love to see this stuff go. And I think that's what I have to say, pretty much.
Okay, Mayor Archie?
Well, I still didn't hear what I wanted to hear, and that's that he's gonna remove it. He's saying he's recommending that it stays. I'm glad that you talked about the contract, because there is a contract. And actually, it's the city's on right now. And the contract say that the city can remove it, destroy it, if they want to, because it's theirs. First, I say to Stephen is that I appreciate him and the artwork. It has nothing to do my asking to take my family off of that because I don't think he did a good job and the rest of that stuff. I like to have it off of it because I have got to a point where I really don't want to be associated with it. I appreciate this council and its predecessors, and one of those happen to be in the audience right now. I've looked at too many videos and the rest of that, and I know, and this is the reason that I tried to work with it, didn't say anything, and some people say, why you didn't say something 4 months ago and try to disrupt it, or when I think that Ms. Wood, Ms. Jennings, and Mr. Oliver came and was looking at it. It was the first time I really knew that there was going to be something there that day. If y'all remember, he had this vehicle parked over to the side, and we looked. That was the first time. I'm not the type of person that just say without knowing what something is, to say, hey, don't do this, don't do that. Because I feel like, hey, everything should be allowed a chance. After I read and I found out that, he talked about $135,000, I don't think that people put that type of money into something that they don't want to have it as a good project. Some of the things that was originally asked for as it being down, by the way, the other sponge diver is in terms of telling the whole story, yes, it probably would have been better there, because as somebody looked, they would automatically ask, what's the relationship? But that wasn't what was chosen. I think that, and I'll say this to you, and I say it to the city, I think there's a lot of liability for as how that place is now. That was one of the things I had in my letter. What Mr. Oliver did was to try to protect the artwork. He left the fence up. That helped. But that meant that he put it more in the ditch, which is the incline. The fence was level on the outside, but it's not as large as that. So that's there. The city's come in, taking out more of the vegetation that was inside to make it deeper so that it will do what it was purposed to do. And that was the whole water, drainage water. Also, if you go over, you'll see that there is, even now where the gate is, there's more of an incline. I appreciate what he said, but I don't take children out there to see that, and I never will. I don't care what would happen. I'm not going to take them out there because, first of all, it's hard to explain it. Second of all is I think that we are dealing with copyright. I've heard about it being in the public domain, but that book is copyrighted. I looked today, and 90% or more of the pictures are from the book. That book is what has. I looked up, and when they started talking about public domain and the rest of that, is that one of the things that he should do, and I would ask Stephen, did you talk to the publisher about getting permission? Did you talk to the authors about getting permission to put the pictures up? Sir, did you talk to anybody?
I had interviews in the community.
No, you got to listen to me now. Did you talk to anyone, the publisher of the book, or the authors of the book, where you got the pictures from?
I did not talk to them.
And what it says is that when you're going to use copyrighted material, you should talk and get permission to do that. And I haven't asked about that. I've talked to the individual, I talked to the publisher, before, so I knew he hadn't. And I've talked to the people in terms of the book, and I knew that he didn't get permission there. So actually, those photos shouldn't even be up there like that. And then if I take any one of you out there, there probably may be 3 people maybe you might know that's there. I appreciate the effort. I do. I don't appreciate the location. I think it is a very bad location, and I think that it's a hazard right now. It's more of a hazard. If you go out there, you'll see that there's an incline that's there that no one can really walk around that without the possibility of falling in. And I'm not sure why Stephen is now being asked his permission, quote unquote, to do it, except that it would make it easier. The mayor talked about some law that the artist has rights and the rest of that, but if you read the contract, he waived that. And if he didn't, that law says that he's hired to do something by an employer. It is not his work anymore. He doesn't have the right. He doesn't have any right. Right now, it lies with this body because the commissioners and the mayor and everyone said, you should handle it. There's a lot of things that I know that maybe should have been done. I haven't tried to bring that up. I've only asked a few things. I didn't ask for him or the city to take it down and the rest of that. I said there are 3 of those pounds that are related to my family, 3 of them. Take those down. Put anything else you want up there. Put sponges, the rest of that. My family don't have anything to do with the Bahamian Sponge Project, which it started out to be. My husband is from the Bahamas. His brother, but their picture's not up there. It's just some other people that's related to me. And I could tell you is that this is why I want to stay around for the next part. This is not really talking about history, because it's hard to put that was there together. One side has sponges and the rest of that on it. The other side has people and how do they mesh to create something. So I'm still at that same point, and my thought is it rests with this body because the commissioners gave it to you. It doesn't really even rest with Stephen, except because he's given it to the city. He could say, I'm finished, and city could take that down, but I don't want to put nothing else up in its place because it's the city's own. So I'm still trying to figure out what's kind of happening. And I got one picture that I've asked Stephen about, and I haven't gotten any answer to it yet, is that there's a picture that says colored only on the roof. where in Tarpon Springs did you get that? What? It's a nice picture now. If you don't know anything, you say colored only. That's about Black heritage. It must be somewhere in Tarpon. So I'm saying that, hey, what you have out there, most people won't even understand it. I probably know more people that's on that than anyone here because I'm very familiar with the book. Ms. Rooks is a personal friend of mine, you know. So I'm still asking for my family. That's all I asked. He didn't get permission to put them up from her or from me. And when I talked to the publisher, what they said was the people who have the photo is actually the one that you should be talking to about copyright, period. So I'm trying to figure out, where do we go from here? You know?
Well, Mayor Archie, what you said is correct to a point. In 1990, the U.S. Congress passed the Visual Artists' Rights Act, and it grants works of art that meet certain requirements afford their authors additional rights regardless of any subsequent physical ownership of the work itself, regardless of who holds copyright to the work. So the thing is that this decision, you know, still ultimately rests with Stephen. It's his artwork. He's the one, even though the city technically owns it under contract, under this congressional act, Stephen still has the right to alternate or not as he sees fit. So Stephen, would you?
Well, before you do that, let me tell you. If you know me, I'm not going to be talking to you about things that I can't show you. Yes, I know that. A couple of things happen. One, it says, the Visual Artists' Rights Acts do not apply to works made for hire. If an artist creates a work under a contract for an employer or as a part-time job, the employer owns the work and the artist does not retain the VARA rights. One, also in his contract that you talked about, that I've looked at and I've read, it says, rights under the Visual Artists' Rights Act. To the extent the uses, modification, destruction, and removal of the project under this agreement affect any rights artists may have under the provisions of a federal or state law, including the 1990 Visual Artists' Rights Act, the artist hereby knowledgeably waives any rights provided by laws. According to his contract, he's already waived that. Plus, it wouldn't even be applicable because he was hired by contract to do it. So, this is what I keep telling you is that technically, yes, in another world, he would have the rights, but he waived them contractually to the city. So he doesn't have the right. And even if he hadn't, because he was hired to do it, that in itself nullifies that. And if you think that I'm wrong, the city just hired a very, I think, competent attorney that can look at it and see. This is in his contract, so how he's going to have rights that he's already said, I waive. So if he wants to tell me how he still has those rights, yes. Yes, sir. And you could, while you're up here, you could tell me where that picture came from.
Yeah, I came here to address one image. That's what I came here to do, what I was asked about in the limited letter. Okay, so that's what I came prepared to. Matter of fact, I went to the extent of Monday, not knowing what the outcome of actually cutting and preparing that one. There's one image, one area that would fit. Okay, I went to the trouble of cutting that, and I was about to come with the tools to actually install it today, but I said, well, wait a minute. If I'm going to make a case and let people decide or weigh in, I shouldn't rush them like I'm going to have to put it up today. I should just, so I didn't bring the tools to install it, but I did bring the piece. So I came there prepared for that too. So, in terms of some of this other stuff, and the copyright stuff like that, before 1978, there wasn't the ability to actually copyright things. So images before 1978 are in public domain. The image that we were talking about there, one I took, the other one is definitely old. But that one, particularly Mr. Archie's father, that probably is, when I look closer at that, it may very well be, you can't assume every picture is in the book. That may be a little later than 1970s, probably is. So from that perspective, what he's talking about, the rights to the photograph, that, if he's right, and I probably is, that lands back on him. So, again, I came here with my best suggestion, my recommendation, and I came here prepared to do comply to taking the image down of his family, so, and replacing it with something else. So I can
Okay.
do that. It's not a problem, I mean, I can't force anything, and,
Right.
so that's how I feel.
Mr. Archie, will that, if he replaces the image, would that,
This one here, I'm still asking, because we want to say that that's history. And I don't know, pass this around to you.
Sure.
And then I'll pass around this picture, which is my mother's brother. This is my father, too. There are 3 of them up there that is my family photos. I'm asking that all 3 be taken down. And I can show you in the book where they came from and what's underneath it, the caption that shows that they are related to me. So those are the ones that I'm asking that be taken down. And like I say, if he's willing to do that, then my thing is, hey, whatever else the city wants to do, I think that there are some things that should happen out there, which I was waiting to see, something that makes it into a place that the city would be proud of because of how it's landscaped, so that it doesn't look like retention pond, some people say, drainage area, or what I say, a drainage ditch. And I still think if you go out there, you'll see that it's a real hazard trying to walk around that. And when you get to the next thing, you'll see that this, what he's done, and I'll go out there with anyone that's sitting here, and I guarantee you, I could take the book and I could show you 90% of all of those photos was from that book. Whether you deal with them and take it, or do whatever, that's your business. I really don't care. But I do think that some things need to happen out there to make it safe. Some things need to happen out there so that, I don't know, 67,500. I don't know how that money was divided, but should look like the city did something to commemorate the Bahamian hook spongers. Spent good money there, but that's all. Those 3 there, those are mine, and the other one I've asked. So somebody just tell me, I just wanted to know for just general knowledge. I've never seen that photo ever in my life, and I couldn't understand why would you have a photo that says colored only on the roof? You know,
Oh, Mayor Archie, I can't address the historic photograph, but I think what we arrived at today is, your primary objection was the pictures of your immediate family, and Mr. Oliver has agreed to replace the panel with that. So would you be satisfied with that for now?
for now, I would be, but I do think if you're going to say that that's about history, then somebody should say something about that photo, whether it's today or whatever. When you go around and you look at it, every one of those, he said he's going to have a QR code, and I'll be waiting to see it. It should describe what's there. But for me, that's all. And I can tell you this is that I didn't come here to try to make Stephen look bad, the art council, the city, or anything. I don't even do this lightly. I don't. The reason is because I know what was initially thought of in terms of recognition for people that don't get recognized. And I appreciate it. I think that probably all of you here, maybe Diane and Joan and Robert, maybe, was the only one there initially talking about a great project. 2020 was a bad year all the way around. COVID and then George Floyd. And the city said that they wanted to do something. And then I know that listening to the tapes, Mr. Stackhouse basically said it was 50,000. That's not going to be enough to do what we think we need to do. And they raised it to 135,000. So that's why I was hesitant. I don't want to be the one to come and say, you spend 135,000, this and that. But I do think as you go forward, we have to collectively look at the sites and see if this is appropriate site to give recognition to someone. Now, if I told you, if you took that site, if you took that there and you put it out there at the landfill, you say, come on. That's the same way some people talk to me about it being in that drainage ditch. Me. And they blame me. This is the thing that I'm trying to tell you. It's bad when you get blamed for something that you don't even know about. So if you can do that for me, take those 3 off, then I would suggest that from a liability perspective, something still needs to be done with that.
Okay, well, I spoke to the city manager, and first I have to say that I'll take the blame for the QR codes. I've been rather remiss about pushing the committee members to get on the ball with that. I know Dawn has done a lot of work with QR codes already, even though she was an alternate, and it wasn't in her, role. But we are going to put more attention into doing the QR codes. I know, I'm sure we'll be asking Stephen for some of the materials he already has written to include. Diane has offered with Brandon Grock to host all of the material on the Tarpon Arts website. And the other thing that's, where the ball was dropped was on the landscaping and the renovation of the land around the sculpture. It was supposed to have been done when the sculpture was installed, and I should have stayed on people a little more, for which I apologize. But I'm not a nag by nature. Looks like I'm going to be forced to become one. But I think, all in all, Mayor Archie, Mr. Oliver, I think we've come to an understanding, and I hope that we could go, as Mr. Oliver has so beautifully said, onward together. Okay. So, going back to the agenda, if I may, Old business, the Black Heritage Project. I think, unless anybody on the committee has something else to say, I think everything that can or should be said about that has also been said. The Dorset Park mural was damaged. I spoke to Tom Funchen. He believes it was done by bicycle handlebars. And I think they're doing some other work. The city is doing some other work at Dorset Park, and they want to finish it before they repair the Dorset Park mural. The CRA mural project, Diane, I don't think we've gotten anything, have we?
No, not at this
Okay.
time.
The city clerk building, okay. A while ago, as part of the submissions for the Black Heritage Project, one of the proposals, in fact, it was the runner-up to Mr. Oliver, was submitted by Louis Marcoya. He also lives in St. Pete, and he had several museum exhibits of his 3D lenticular art. A lot of it is either super realistic or, very surrealistic. But one of the things he proposed was a very large 9 by 4 foot 3D illuminated lenticular of an underwater scene. And I've spoken to several people, and most of them think that this would be a very nice addition to the exterior wall of the city clerk's office. So I'd like to get some comments about it. If we do agree that, we would like to continue this, then we will. If we feel that we want to do a call to artists, I was going to strongly suggest that the selection panel be comprised of the city clerk and her staff, since they'll be looking at it every day. So, Nick, do you have any feelings about this piece? It's not the exact piece, by the way. This is just a rough draft of something that had been submitted before.
I don't want to sound, what is an illuminated lenticular, it's what I.
It's a 3D image.
Holographic.
You can't reproduce it in printing, but if you were to go to his website, I think you can get a feel for what the 3D images are like. He currently has an extensive exhibit at the Imagine Museum in St. Pete. He had a big exhibit at the Lipa Ratner.
So the image is created, in other words, using light and other means projected somehow? onto
No,
a
no,
panel?
it's a layering of small lenses on the surface of the image that makes them,
Okay,
Let's see.
refract or reflect light. and different-
right.
Okay,
It's not something I understand,
okay.
but, as I said, it can't be represented in print.
Sure. I find the image itself, though, interesting. It kind of pops and all, and I suspect that doing it in this holographic manner is going to make it kind of pop even more on the thing, as far as the brilliance of the colors. Now, this is exterior that
Yes.
you were saying? This would be something that would be on the thing. I find it interesting, again, I serve on the art committee, but I don't have formal art training and all. But so from my perspective, it's a cool thing and all. It's colorful, it pops out. I see the sponges, and I see a sponge hook in the water there. And some of the
Well, as
fish-
I said, this was a draft for another project, but I just
Is it?
want you to consider the concept of having.
Okay, so this may not be the.
Oh, that's not it at all.
I see, just the
Right.
style and the concept. I
Right.
see, okay. Yeah, I think it's something that I'd be okay with pursuing.
Okay, John?
I'm interested in seeing what can be done with that, because as far as I know, we don't have anything in that particular medium around. And for me, I would like to, I'm interested in seeing a lot of more different kinds of art.
Right.
So, yeah, I would be interested in pursuing that.
Graham?
I have seen Mr. Marcoya's work down at the Imagine Museum. I've looked at the images that he offers on his website. That's louismarcoya.com, if anybody's interested in looking it up. There's some quite interesting imagery there. I kind of like it. 9 foot by 4 foot. It will certainly, well, if you go and look at the front of the clerk's building right now, it's this great mass of gray concrete, so almost anything would improve it. But certainly, yes, a striking artwork there would be, a magnificent addition. And, so I'm generally in favor of such a thing. I wonder about the cost. That has not yet been mentioned. I wonder whether the city clerk's office or the city itself would be prepared to share funding with the Public Art Committee if we were to ask, which I don't think we have.
Well, that's why,
So,
this
you
is
know,
just
I
being
thi- I think-
floated as a concept,
Yeah,
yeah.
as a concept, I like it, but there's a lot of details. And, we need to cover all of those details.
Okay, Katie?
I too like the concept, the color in it, and the way it comes to life. But my question would also be the cost, and when you get ready to select the image that's going on the building, who would be making that determination? Would it be the art council, or will y'all?
Well,
give-
usually, there's two ways to do it. Well, and no matter who does it, it would need approval. But for something like this, as I just mentioned, it probably go to the city clerk and her staff, because they live with it every day. I think they should have some input into it.
Okay, so now this is different than the material that you have on the building at Dorset Park. Is this
No,
type of material?
this is 3D.
I'm asking a question. I know it's 3D, but is the material that's going on the building,
Yeah, it's a whole different process.
it's a whole different
Right.
imagery type of product that's going
Right,
on the
what went
actual
on, yeah, Dorset
building?
Park was an applique from an image.
Okay.
I think what she's asking is, it's kind of like a standalone, it's almost like a framed
Yeah, it's almost like
piece.
a
Oh, okay,
flat
so it's
screen
not
TV.
It
actually
would be
being
like a-
laid on the building?
Correct.
Okay,
It would
there we
be
go.
like a standalone piece, and he does interior as well as exterior pieces. So I would recommend that all the Public Art Committee go on to, his website and take a look at, some of his art. So it'll give you a better concept of really kind of what it looks like.
Yeah,
So-
because on the website are some actual 3D images that will give you a better idea of what,
I'm just trying to see if it's being attached to the building, but it's not. Sound like she's saying it's not attached
it's
to the building.
attached, but it would be like attaching that flat screen TV.
Okay, yeah, it's not.
Is
it's
that-
not-
I'm sorry, I didn't-
Right,
yeah,
it's not like
okay.
run on Rudy Project. It's not
No,
like
no,
that.
no, it's not,
Okay,
it's
okay.
not something
Yeah, I think
flat.
it's beautiful. I'd be curious to see what they would pick, yeah.
Okay, so I'll reach out and see what we could get in terms of pricing and things of that sort. Okay, Megan, the budget
and-
update, please, oh, I'm sorry.
And if anyone else would like to share costs.
Okay. Well, one of the things that he did last time, too, was include 1,000 3D postcards that could be sold. Something, anyway, just,
And also a comment is that the city is already going to be contributing money to it because of, it is a new building and an art project. So city technically is already contributing, going to be.
Do you know what that contribution would be?
No,
We have
'cause I
no
don't know
idea
what
what the
the-
valuation of the building's
I
going
don't.
to end up at, no.
So, so we would be approaching this artist to commission that, or is this gonna also
well,
be
just
a
to get
call
more
to art?
information.
Okay, okay,
To get more information, as to cost and,
gotcha.
All
right.
Okay, Megan, the budget update and developer contributions.
Per Pat McNeese, there are no new project updates.
Okay.
The balance has changed due to our payments for the completion of the Black Heritage Project. Our revenues through 7/9/2024, as of yesterday, are $63,754. That's just a slight change due to interest of like the fund. Expenditures through 7/9 is $65,540, which takes our balance as of yesterday to $145,570.
Okay, thank you very much, Megan. Okay, under new business, I believe we've already dealt with the A. Now we're going to B, protocols for art projects with historical significance or components. I don't know whether any of you saw the Board of Commissioners meeting on July 2nd, but I know that both Graham and I were there. There was an extensive discussion at that meeting, and that what the Board of Commissioners strongly advised was that going forward, we will avoid any projects based primarily on an historic figure or figures, especially if any relatives or descendants may possibly challenge such works. While art and history have always been intertwined, art that depicts an historical event or person may be misconstrued. So art is meant to educate and enlighten, to evoke thought and discussion, but in today's climate, that intent often results in unnecessary conflict. So let's go this way. Katie, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, because of a project that we're sitting on hold until September, I would wonder how would that play into that being a factor of this rule now? Because in the when we had our new budget meeting, and the Board of County Commissioners, well, not the Board of County Commissioners, city commissioners, they put it back on the Art Council to table the project that's going up for Dodecanese until September for the sponge hooker, which you would have to, BEBA is working on a panel, and everything's been set aside until September. I'm
I
just,
thought that was completely canceled, as was
no,
the
it wasn't
Safford
canceled.
project.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was tabled until August, and then it was tabled to June.
Okay,
then
I'll
it
have
was
to check
tabled
on that
until
because
August,
I
and then
thought-
it was tabled until September.
Right. I
Because
thought all
BEBA
of,
would
both
be the
of those
one.
were canceled.
No.
Okay. I'll have to
No.
go back and check the,
Yeah, because that project is one that kind of stemmed from what we're going through now, but this is a whole new project, which the people that has volunteered, I know BEBA was going to select a panel, and the people that volunteered are the same citizens like you had on the Black Heritage Project, but these people are volunteering for the sponge hooker project to be discussed, not necessarily a statue. It could be any type of representation, even could be a mural of representation of the Bahamian sponge hooker that was initially part of the master plan in 2020. So if we can make sure that doesn't include what you're saying here now.
okay, I'll have to check because I thought both of those projects were canceled. Graham?
Yes, I was at the Board of Commissioners meeting. I did speak to the commission. I won't repeat everything I said here. But to summarize, I did suggest that the Public Art Committee should concentrate on projects that do not have a historical component, partly because of the risk of people misconstruing what we're doing, and partly because I think that there are many many art forms which have absolutely nothing to do with history that are quite interesting and quite worthy of our consideration. And I stand by that. We've got plenty to think about without stirring up controversy. And I think we should do that. We've got lots of, we can have nice things. Okay. The item that's there, protocols for art projects with historical significance or components, that is the subject under discussion right now. I would suggest that we do not have any more projects with historical significance or components ever again, unless there is an absolutely overwhelming reason for it. Yep, that's all I got to say.
Dawn?
Me? First of all, from the minutes from our last meeting, it says discussion followed regarding ideas of the Unity project on the sponge docks. And we talked about that, and there's going to be further investigation into that. Now, that being said, this new, I don't know if it's a rule or a suggestion about historical figures or events or whatever. I think personally, when you start putting those kind of constraints on artwork, it ceases to be, it ceases to have the power that it has the potential to have. And I understand there's been a lot of controversy around recent things. I think if and I stink at history, but as I recall, the Eiffel Tower, when it was put up, was thought to be some kind of abomination. Throughout history, there are things that are iconic now that were not well received at the time. They did not tear down the Eiffel Tower. They didn't paint it purple to make people happy. I think art is important, and a lot of times the importance of art is the discussions, and sometimes they're not easy to have, but the discussions that they evoke. That being said, I'm on a committee. I understand people's stance to avoid these kinds of conflicts. I personally think you don't get growth without conflict. So that's my point. Also, I will say, starting to put those kind of constraints on it, as difficult as it can sometimes be to get artists to answer our calls, it will be really, really difficult to get an artist interested in putting artwork in Tarpon Springs if they know that, the public doesn't like it or somebody doesn't like it, and now they're going to be forced to change it or not do it at all. We're not going to have artists interested in doing artwork here. So that's my 2 cents on that.
I think Don and David made some good points, art by committee is hard. And all to do, and, and that's certainly one way to go, to simply avoid trying, doing the historical, going that direction when there's so many other avenues of art, which might be better suited for public art committees, in the context of what, we volunteered to do and all. Yeah, because once we start getting to the historical, or art with historical significance, now, of course, we all want the art to be, I guess, historically accurate, I guess you would say, and all, but and you're dealing with artists who, have an imagination and, and interpret things in different ways, and they may be trying to accurately reflect something, yet their interpretation, does not please everyone, which no art, pleases anyone. And also, You know, it's a sticky wicket, yeah, coming up with protocols for art projects with historic significance or components. I mean, you know, what do we do with that? You know, I mean, you know, like Graham said, we can simply
Well, there's plenty, right,
not go there.
right.
And also, you know, I'm not sure what I can,
Right,
add at this
there's
time.
plenty of, you know, projects we could tackle.
Oh, absolutely.
Without making them historic. I
sure.
guess that's where the only, you know, that's where the, you know, they were going with this.
sure. And if it's something perhaps of historic significance and all, maybe it's something that the commission, city commission, you know, perhaps they, with their impetus or something, you know, input, you know, that there's something they'd like to see or something in this, you know, something to do with the history of Tarpon that they would like to, you know, see expressed and all, but, you know, again, it's going to be the same issues that will be faced no matter who initiates and do it.
Right.
So-
Yeah, I think it would definitely need to be very clear what these parameters are. Maybe it's a specific person, you know, not a genre of people, or say, you know, nothing with doctors, but maybe Mrs. Safford is out, but a female doctor would be okay, or, you know.
Right.
but that would, the parameters would need to be extremely clear.
Well, I think it was our esteemed colleague over here who made the distinction that art is interpretive, it's free-flowing, and that speaks to your point too, Dawn. You don't want to put any restrictions on an artist. But with history, you are putting restrictions. It has to be bound by factual information. So now you've got this kind of mutt, this hybrid of, you know, which one takes precedence? You know, do you, you know, much like what Stephen did, do you want, you know, something that expresses the artist's feelings, the emotions, but may perhaps not be totally historically accurate?
Right.
So,
I just, you know, just playing devil's advocate, say we wanted to, we got, put out a call to artists, and we got some back, and one of them happened to be an African-American artist. And they came up with some sort of piece of art that did speak to history.
we did.
Well,
That's exactly what happened. Most of the other proposals we had were very abstract.
yeah.
And maybe one of these days, Diane, you could email us all some of the old projects that were submitted. They were all, you know, who's beeping? Katie?
It's probably me. I have my door, somebody walking by my door. Kind of see where this is heading to, but I wanted to ask, on the project that you have at the back of the Visitors Bureau, those two sculptures that Stephen has at the back of the Visitors Bureau?
The marina.
Yeah, the
At the-
Visitors
on the
Bureau,
river,
at the
yes.
back of the marina, yeah, where y'all had the unveiling the other day. So, being that it's already existing, it's an existing sculpture, how would you, what if a suggestion is made to relocate them? Because that project there is almost as bad as you have on the back at Union Academy. And I'm saying that because we've said before, being that we've gotten to this point, it was before my time, I don't know, probably before other people's time here too, that happened. But the sculpture that you have back there depicting the Bahamian sponger and the people that should have been in front of the sponge exchange or across the street on the working dock, they would have gotten hung if they had even ventured in that part of the marina. So the location, I'm asking, can something be done about the location? If you don't want to put a mural of some representation of the Bahamian sponge hooker on Dodecanese or Dodecaneses, would you consider relocating that exhibit to where it should be a better representation? because that's just throwing that out there now. That might be something that won't even
Right.
happen. But
not
I'm
even
saying,
what we're
the Bahamian sponge hooker, we've headed that way because the master plan called for it. It diverted to two different
Could you show me where in
sculptures.
the master plan it said that?
2020, it said a sculpture. Mr. Stackhouse was on the committee, on the Black Heritage Committee. So, yeah, I can bring you that, it's in the minutes from this board here.
In the minutes, but not in the master plan.
The master plan, yeah, it was a sculpture that was recommended, but matter of fact, you was the one who changed it to art abstract, I think it was on January 10th of 2020. So, but I don't want to go backwards, but I'm saying, during that time, it was supposed to be representation on dodecaneses for that Bahamian sponge hooker.
Right,
So,
everything
but
changed.
But exactly my point. So now we've gotten into some situation with the one on MLK, which I would recommend as before I had suggested. You keep saying QR codes. I think you should put, and Biba agreed with me. You should put a brochure out there. If you can't put you can put numbers on those pictures.
No, we're not gonna number the pictures.
Exactly my point. I know that. So you're not going to do anything. As,
Well,
all you're
we're not
looking at is a
gonna-
QR code for that. But what I'm saying is, Joan, is that the locations were not considered. They were discussed and it happened. It happened already. Nothing can be done. But I'm saying if you're going to divert and table or dismiss the request to have representation of the Bahamian sponge hooker on a mural of some sort and not kill that panel before it can even get to existence, then I'm asking this committee to do something about representing the Bahamian sponge project that you have at the back of that marina where they would not have been able to even go. Some might be getting kind of tired of hearing it, but you have to live in my skin to understand where I'm coming from. It's disgraceful.
Okay, that's
You're
your
not
opinion.
understanding where I'm coming from. Exactly my
Right,
point. It's my opinion.
Right, it's your opinion.
So there we go. I guess I'm done with that because now I'll see how this committee handles this situation. Thank you.
Well, the thing is, we all have our opinions.
Yeah.
And, this was decided on a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was in process for a long time. It was installed. The original place, which actually Stephen got wrong, was at a trolley stop. And,
saying.
and it was,
Here we are.
that was deemed inappropriate.
Okay.
So it was moved to the marina so it could be on the waterfront. And if you go and look at it, I think
have.
there's some pictures in the,
I have. Location is terrible.
well, that's,
Just like
as I said,
MLK.
that's, the same thing happened with the Safford House, right, Diane? At one of the Board of Commissioners meetings, somebody, stood up and said, nobody goes there. And you replied by sending everybody the numbers of the, large amount of people that go for the Safford House. So one person's perception and another person's reality, again, we have something different. I know that from the very beginning, you've objected to both of these projects, and,
It's not
you
that I
have every
objected.
right to do that.
I try to make it, I was just making recommendations by putting numbers on those pictures so people will know who they are, put a brochure out there, because everybody that walk by in that neighborhood is not going to have a QR code access. All I'm trying to do is make suggestions that are better help this
Katie,
project. So,
right,
it is
no,
what it
we-
is.
We took your recommendations at a
And you did
past
nothing with
meeting.
it.
We agreed to do a brochure. We also said that there's no way we're putting stickered numbers on the sculpture, and we're still going forward with the QR codes. Everywhere you go today, even on your television sets, there are QR codes. Saying that people walking around don't know what to do with a QR code, I think, is incorrect. And,
But you did agree to do a brochure.
Yes, as I
Okay,
said, I
there
have
you go.
been remiss on some follow-up stuff, and we are all volunteers, and I've had some other issues. I already apologized for my lack of action on this, and I'm going to try to correct it. So, moving on, Graham, I believe you have something for us?
Yeah, if you go back to the minutes from last month's meeting, item 4, where the Dr. Mary Safford statue was discussed, it ended up with a motion to terminate the Dr. Mary Jane Stafford project was made by me, seconded by Biba, and there was a unanimous voice vote approving the termination of that project. And that was followed up by another motion to approach the city for permission for an art project to be erected at the corner of Safford Oak and Live Oak in the grassy area currently unoccupied by anything. Also made by me, seconded by Dawn, and unanimously passed. I did approach the city, and the city manager, Mark Licouris, told me that the area that is in that park, that's the North Safford Park, the area that is an oval with a footpath around it and surrounded by young olive trees, is available and could be used for a public art project. And so, as it says, if the location's approved, then we can come back next month with a selection of ideas that could be possible projects. I can't speak for anyone else, but I have an idea for a possible project, and I'd like to pass this around for everybody to have a copy. And
Just as a matter of process, can I entertain a motion to consider Graham's remarks?
I'll make a motion to consider Graham's remarks.
I'll second.
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay.
For the benefit of our guests who don't have a copy, because I didn't anticipate there being so many of you, what I'm suggesting, and I'll just read the first part of it, the project title is Harmony in the Grove. The location is North Safford Park. And project overview, North Safford Park, a verdant haven nestled in Tarpon Springs at the intersection of Live Oak Street and Safford Avenue and alongside the Pinellas Trail, offers a serene oval space measuring 80 by 100 feet, framed by a footpath which is shaded by young olive trees. This project seeks to transform this open grassy expanse into a harmonious public art installation that resonates with the natural beauty of the park while fostering community engagement and enhancing the cultural landscape of Tarpon Springs. There's a whole host of other details about this. I'm suggesting a budget. The order of magnitude would be $100,000. I had Diane send around some links that I had found and provided for you to look at other public art projects that are currently in process around the nation. They ranged from, if you follow those links and you look at all the projects that are involved there, they range from $30,000 at the low end to $600,000 at the high end. And I think, like with everything, you're going to get what you pay for. I was suggesting $100,000 as a starting point. I'm suggesting that we send out a call to artists for ideas on what to do there, that we take 5 of those suggestions from the artists and commission 5 artists, for an honorarium of, say, $2,000 to prepare a detailed presentation for us to look at. And then that would be used to, one of those 5 would be selected. The installation has to obviously fit with the space. It could be placemaking, it could be sculptural, it could be anything that I can't imagine, but it would need to be a permanent fixture in that rather large space. So I imagine it would need to be quite big in order to be noticed. And so the materials should be durable, it's an outdoor thing, it's got to be safe for the public, it's got to be accessible. People are going to walk up to it and touch it no matter what you do. They might even climb on it. So it has to be, you have to make sure that it's safe. I'm hoping that the city might provide assistance with foundations and lighting for such an installation. I don't know if that's possible. But the artist should propose a detailed description, renderings, sketches, whatever, materials, timeline, lighting plan, budget, all that kind of thing should be in their initial proposal, and then all that would be fleshed out. I have suggested a contextual relevance that should be included in the proposal, and that is that Tarpon Springs has a rich multicultural heritage where people from all walks of life have been able to come together to enjoy its natural beauty. The city and its residents are committed to preserving its delightful way of life and unhurried outlook while incorporating modernization which enhances the community. And this art installation should reflect and celebrate this heritage, embodying the unity and diversity that characterize Tarpon Springs. I've suggested some evaluation criteria, whether the project would be feasible, whether it could engage the local community, whether it would be durable, whether it has artistic merit, always a tough one, and that the artist should have some experience in doing such things. And I commend my submission to the committee for consideration. I do not expect you to say, yay, Graham, go for it. Certainly not at this point, although I hope you might have something like that next month. I suggest you go out there and walk around North Safford Park and take a look at the location. It's really interesting. It's right at the, it's just a little bit east of the end of Dodecanese. It's right at the end of Safford Avenue. It's right there where the Pinellas Trail seems to sort of peter out in Tarpon Springs and turns into that other trail that runs across the county. I think it's a great location. The area south of the Oval is, I believe, the planned location for the pickleball courts. There's another area to the west of the Oval, which is currently an open space. There's a treed area there. It's right opposite the dog parks, very close to the splash park. And my way of thinking is that it really needs something there. It's kind of a gateway for the docks area and for the downtown. The docks area going down to Dodecanese and the downtown if you go down Safford Avenue. So I think it's a pivotal location, and I think that we should put something spectacular there if we can afford it, and striking if we can't.
Okay, well, unless anybody has any objections, I think we'll just put this on the August agenda. That way we can do a little road trip.
We'll take a vote on that.
Yes, can I get a motion to put it on the August agenda?
So moved.
Second? Nick? Megan?
Mr. Toth? I'm sorry, Mr. Toth?
This is a yes.
Yes.
Ms. Arvitello?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes, with a question.
What question? Well, wait, let's finish the vote and then we can just.
Chair Jennings?
Yes, okay.
This sounds like a really good project. I'm not knocking it, but I was going to ask, at the last meeting, I had put a new project on the board as far as asking for the Parks Department, the Recreation Building, to have a wrap or mural put on it. So I'm trying to see where that stands before you put this project on the table in front of it.
Well, it's not in front of it, it's just, it's two different projects,
Yeah,
obviously.
okay, so that's what I mean. So, is it at some point here, we're gonna discuss that one as well before we make a decision on this one? Because this is nice, I'm not knocking it. I'm just asking about a project that I previously put on the table that hasn't been addressed.
You put that on the table in one of these meetings?
Yeah.
Really?
Was it last month?
It might have been last month or the month
Oh,
before.
you weren't
I
here
missed
last
one
month.
meeting. Well, it was a month before. I asked about a new project for new budget.
I believe it was not this past meeting, it was the meeting prior, and Katie mentioned it in the committee comments.
Okay, so it was just a comment, it wasn't, it has to be an agenda item.
It was recommended
was-
for a new project.
Yeah, she put it out in her comments, but there was no vote or anything like that.
Right. So,
What you can do is put it, in writing as a proposal to be brought to the August meeting,
Yeah,
for
so email
consideration.
Diane
yeah, that's what,
Like
that's
to
what
have to
Graham
slap-
did.
ask her to
Yeah,
put it
well-
on the agenda.
Yeah,
Right.
that's all you gotta do.
Okay, so bringing it here wasn't, okay.
Okay.
So, or
Well,
you
it
could-
would be a yes, as long as, we.
Yeah, if you want to do that, I mean, you're, as I understand it, you can do what was done last month and say, I want to have this, and then it'll be brought up if you bring something for us to talk about.
Well, as Diane said, the
Yeah.
protocol is to email it to her, and then,
Yeah.
then it's raised,
So any of the committee members can email me before a meeting and say, I would like this to be brought, to be added to the agenda for the next meeting. But
This on the agenda?
this
is
is the
now for
agenda.
August.
This
what we
is
just
just the
voted on.
July agenda. I don't have the
I
August.
So I
just
can
brought it-
email you that one for
Yeah,
the August
sure.
meeting.
I
Okay,
And
I
then-
brought it up under new business,
Okay.
so.
But then, try to flesh out a little, in your email to me, if you would, just makes it easier to just give a little background information, location, that sort of thing, what you want to do. So I can, make sure I get it on there correctly.
As a matter of fact, Katie, I know that you mentioned at the BOC meeting that you're very much into murals, so maybe you might like to take it on as an assignment to come back with a list of all the available locations for murals. Why are you laughing? This was something you mentioned at the BOC meeting.
okay, I will, because that was.
Okay,
I
okay.
will, I'll do
It's called-
just that,
But
Joe.
city property. Yeah,
Right, it has
it's
to be
gotta
city
City-
property.
Okay, for city property.
Yeah, city
So-
And also for.
See, be careful what you
for-
wish for, you're gonna
Yeah,
end
no
up
problem.
getting a job
And
out of it.
also for the Parks and Rec building to be on the August agenda, to email you.
Yes,
Okay.
please, yeah.
Okay.
And keep in mind, in years past, we've tried to do private locations in the city, and it just is it's not conducive, for the public art. So it's got to be on a city property or a city building, so.
Right, and,
just keep that in mind.
and the fee has to be $1,000 or less, so we can circumvent all the liability insurance.
It depends on the artist, the caliber of the artist, basically, because, some seasoned artists that are, have quite, guess a resume, they might want to do something that's more grand, but then they also, if they're a seasoned artist, they also know about that they're going to need, comprehensive insurance, in order to do
Right, and they
something
usually
with
have
the
their
city.
own.
So the ones that are more of a novice, kind of artist, that can go ahead and do a project that's, $1,000 or below, then the city can carry the insurance for them while they're doing it. So
Okay.
that's the difference.
If I may?
Go ahead.
One of the things I didn't mention in my proposal was all of the legal stuff that has to go into a proposal as well. Like, for instance, I would expect that there would be mention of insurance, qualified insurance, liability, and so on. I'm not sure, but I think the last time out, it was like $1 million worth of liability insurance was required for.
I'm sure Stephen
for
knows full
Stephen's
well.
project.
Yeah.
And so on. So, there's,
kinda looking at the
it
same
goes,
thing
it
you
goes,
have here.
it goes everywhere from nothing
Right,
for a
exactly.
little project up to, God knows how much in
Right.
insurance for a really big one.
Right,
So-
yeah, we found a workaround that if someone agrees to do a project for $1,000 or less, then they're considered a limited subcontractor by the city, and they're covered by the city's umbrella insurance.
I understand, just
So
like the Rudy
that's-
project, just like the guy who did the Rudy project.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing with this one, so it's two
Any
different
project.
types.
No, Stephen
Okay.
had to get insurance, everybody. It's the legal I'm sure Robert's there nodding too. I know you and Carol know the the wonders of having liability insurance.
And established artists are going to be carrying that kind of liability insurance anyway.
Right.
And so they're not going to worry about it because it's just an extension of their work. So, you know,
But if it was like this,
and that's an established artist, it's going to be more than $1,000, I guarantee it. And he's going to be carrying his own insurance.
okay.
Yeah, they have to present documentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, staff comments.
I just wanted to mention that we have a new city attorney, and I have sent our artist contract to the city attorney, the new city attorney, and they're going to review it and make any recommendations for any changes that need to be done. Cool. So that's all I have. Oh, and Tarpon Arts has put up our new season for 2024, 2025 on tarponarts.org. So if anybody wants to see what our new season looks like, please visit the website. You can't buy tickets right now, but you can also kind of decide what shows you might and events that you might want to come to. So that's all I've got. Megan?
But you can buy tickets to our final community theater performance of Love Letters, which is July 19th, 20th, and 21st, and July 26th, 27th, and 28th
Ah, okay,
at the Cultural Center.
very good.
Love Letters.
Okay. Committee comments, Katie, we'll start with you.
I wanted to revert back to minutes if I could for the vote that on Graham where I want to make the minutes note that I oppose Graham on that new business number 3B. But other than that, I don't have any comments.
You said you voted yes.
No, I didn't vote yes. I didn't vote at all. I didn't oppose. I didn't say oppose. So that's what I'm saying. I wanted to, I didn't,
Then
I
it's an
should have said
abstention.
oppose.
The historical.
Of B, new business, B, protocols for the art project with historical significance. of-
Could you read the motion back, please, Megan?
There wasn't a motion.
Yeah,
No,
what
we didn't
Graham
have a
read,
motion or a vote.
what
We
they
just
approved
talked
of what
about it.
Graham read.
It was just a motion to consider Graham's remarks.
Yeah, and I want to note that I oppose that.
But you didn't vote no, you just abstained. So it's an
I
abstention.
think she's saying what she wants to do is to change her vote to be a nay vote. on
Okay,
that.
so we have to
So-
redo everything.
So that's why I was asking if Megan could read the motion again. And,
Well, first I'll need a motion to reconsider.
okay, I move to reconsider the original motion about my proposal for the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Okay, discussion?
Can we
If Katie wants to recall it, let's recall it.
You have to restate the motion.
We didn't
Yes.
ever have a motion.
Okay. Restate the
During
motion.
It's
the-
a different thing. It's a different thing.
For Part B, protocols for art projects with historical significance or components, there was never any motion.
No, we just talked about it.
There was
Okay, it was
just
just a
Vote on
discussion.
anything.
But
Okay.
what Graham read was opposing to have any what I'm gathering, is to have this board do not do any projects related to history, art projects related to history. To me, it's kind of hard not to have, to divide the two. So I wanted to oppose that because I think you'll have to incorporate art with history. It's all a part of art.
I know.
Well, we didn't vote on
May
any
I
discussion.
see
Yeah,
if
we
I
just
can
talked about it.
clarify it?
Yes, please.
There was a considerable discussion on new business item B, protocol for art projects with historical significance or components. During that discussion, I suggested that we should not entertain any future projects with any historical significance or component unless there was overwhelming reason to do so for whatever reason. I didn't suggest what would be overwhelming or anything. I said, unless there was overwhelming consent. And other people suggested that some art projects have historical components and benefit from that. Others said that historical constraints might be constraining on an artist thinking about a project. There was a suggestion that if having done a historical project and having had it changed by the city, having obliged the artist to change his work, if that proceeded and was actually done, then it would deter future artists from bidding on projects for the city. There were a number of discussions along that lines. Katie said that she likes murals. She likes the projects with historical context. There was no motion as a result of that. That was my understanding of the discussion. If anyone else wants to
Megan is
add to
nodding her head.
that or
Yeah.
move away from that.
And I will flesh out everyone's comments once I go back and do this on YouTube, but that was pretty much, Graham was a
There was no
no. Miss
motions or
Jennings
votes
was
or anything.
pretty much
Right.
agreed. Miss Arbitello, art and history, yes, but we don't want to discourage future artists. Mr. Toth, kind of agreeing with Dawn, but understanding. Miss Taylor believes that art and history go together and are intertwined. But I'm going to flesh out your guys' comments, but there was no
So there
motion.
was no motion or vote.
Want to take a vote on that or not?
I don't think so. I think we have a discussion. This discussion is closed, and
I think we ended up, by not having a motion, if I can just clarify that
Right.
again, by not having a motion, we declined to prepare or propose any protocols for art projects with historical significance or components, and so they would continue under the same protocols and so on as we have for current art projects, that they're brought up in front of the committee, they'll be voted on as an art project and so on.
Right.
exactly, okay.
That
So
they're
nothing's
essentially
changed.
no difference and nothing has changed.
Okay,
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
okay. Graham, do you want to make additional comments?
Yes, I do. I've got a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to thank Stephen Oliver for all of the time and effort that he put into his project. I personally am very pleased with that artwork. I find it, even though it has historical context and historical components, I am personally delighted by it. In particular, the piece at the marina, I was fascinated by the discovery that it was very close to a historical and traditional baptismal site along the river there. I thought that was interesting and made the location even, somewhat better. And I just wanted to say thank you. And I understand that, your artistic journey on that is now complete, or should be. But our work as a committee continues. And I want to emphasize that we must continue to enhance our public art by adding contextual notes and more detailed descriptions to the brief ones that are already available in the Public Art Online Location Guide. I would like to ask our liaison, Diane, if we could somehow obtain the services of one of your people who's really good at recording people to go with me to a couple of our more recent artists, like Stephen, like Elizabeth Indianos, and interview them about their recent works, and we could have those audio or video files somehow attached to the map that's online. I know it's possible. We can just put links on there. You've already offered to host the files, so I don't see that it's a technical problem. It's just can we use the services of a city employee, and in particular one of yours, to help us do that?
I'll have to get approval from the city manager.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Dawn?
I think we've all had really good discussions. One of the main thing that I wanted to say is, I think this is a record for the number of guests that we've had to one of our meetings, and it is exciting to me. I think the more community involvement that we get on a regular basis, coming to the meetings and hearing what's going on, or watching them online and emailing comments or whatever, but the more involvement we get from the community, the better the results are going to be, and the fewer conflicts might fester and build into something bigger than it is if we all have a chance to communicate and have our voices heard and get that feedback from the community. Because I think, as everybody has acknowledged, we're not here to do bad. We're here to do good. We're volunteering our time because we want to make Tarpon Springs more beautiful. And I personally want to make it more appealing to the entire community. And I think community involvement is really important. I didn't even know this committee existed until probably 6 months before I joined. I didn't know any of the committees existed in this city, and shame on me for not knowing that. But now that I am involved, it's really enriching to me. I feel like I have a voice, and I encourage anybody who's watching this out there, or any of the people that you talk to come and join and have a voice in all of these decisions, because it's everybody's community. Thanks.
Yeah, community involvement is important, I agree with Dawn, and it's good to see when we have people here, and it's good to see my friend David today come and, and express his opinion. And it's been wonderful. I enjoyed Monday, the opening of the piece, Stephen's piece, and I enjoyed, getting to know Stephen over the almost 2 years I've been on the board and all, and, getting to take him down to my shop and the property and show him around, and also, it's been a good experience, and I think you did a great job. I really enjoyed that Monday, seeing the finished work there. And you know what, it is pretty right there on the river, it looked pretty nice with the water behind it and all, and again, it was, I congratulated you then, congratulate you, one more time, on your work, and I know the feeling it can be, like having a child, I'm sure, although I've never had one, but when you see that finished product, there, that sometimes, you say, I did this, with my hands and created this, so it's something I think you should be proud of, and, thank you.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody who braved that heat advisory. It was, it was unbelievably hot down there. But again, I think that it's absolutely magnificent where it is. And I think that Public Works did a great job, Tommy Geiger and his group with the landscaping. And I was especially interested to see how he strung the sponges around the front of the thing. Yeah. And I know that they're going to be putting in, I believe, concrete benches. There was a discussion about putting some shade sails, but I spoke to the city manager, and he said that they're really not practical. So that's life in Florida, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, public comments. I'm going to take people in the order in which they,
Okay.
In which they arrived. Mayor Archie, do you have anything?
Oh, yes. Can I do that picture again?
The,
Yeah, the one that.
the park?
Brown had there. First, I want to just thank y'all for not doing anything for as the historical.
Excuse me, Mr. Archie, I just you have 4 minutes, so I started your timer.
You started over there? Well, I do like they do
I
at
have
the
my
commission meeting. We
timer.
just disregard that stuff. Because this, I think, is very important, is that what you talked about, history and art, the rest of that, get down to be semantics, take time. I appreciate some of you saying that, hey, you don't want to get your hands tied. I was at that commission meeting. One thing that I heard loud and clear, they don't want to micromanage this committee. You put in policies that you believe is going to help you with your work. And with that, I just tell you is that this one that Graham has, it says the harmony in the Grove project. You know, it talks about a multicultural heritage and the rest of that. You know, some people will look at heritage as being history. You know, we don't want to get into that. I think y'all should have the freedom. And I tell you this is that my family picture on that had nothing to do with history. It's a bad location. If you look at anything for this project that you have here, please see if people agree with the location. I think it's a great location. Probably would have been a great location for Stephen if he had the opportunity, but he didn't. You know? So I just want you to know that and to look at what it says in your ordinance that the jury is a member of the board of Tarpon Springs Area Historical Society if the project has historical reference or significance, you know, because they realize that art and history, the people that did this, and I tell you this, I was on the commission, I didn't bring this up, but I support art. And I'm telling you is that location, Miss Taylor has not said anything bad about Mr. Oliver's art. She has problems with the location. So I'm just saying to you is that when we look at some of these things, let's look at location first, you know, and if there was to do the things that Mr. Graham talked about, all that extra stuff, you know, some lighting, that's what made people appreciate art. And I'm hopeful that something happens down at the drainage ditch to make it into a better project that would represent Mr. Oliver. You know, I have no problem with Mr. Oliver and his art. I think that when you give a man a bad location, he did the best he could with the location.
Mr. Oliver, you have anything to say, or? Yes, he wants.
See, a couple things. We did discuss that idea of a brochure. Part of the description I got written, Diane, could feed into that. That's kind of in the works, but again, things clouded. And all those details, even some of the things you mentioned that you apologize for, get lost in the fray. So there's that. I love Graham's idea. I remember you discussing that some months ago, something about that. I think it was a peace pole, and then the peace pole got moved. But after that meeting, I went. Look, it's a beautiful location. And it speaks of what you're talking about. That circular. So I hope something really good happens there. Yeah. And I don't know what else to say. I got some stuff to send Diane. I think signage was on the, agenda or something, or at least.
Yeah,
So we'll talk about that.
okay.
Okay, I'm going to leave it between Carol and Robert to fight it out as to who goes first.
One more thing, sorry about this. Mr. Archie, the letter I was replying to had to do with one image. He mentioned 3 or something, so I just want to make sure I understand exactly what. He
I
showed you
think-
some pictures?
Yeah, I think you two could,
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
maybe office
So,
line.
yeah.
I'm not sure what. Maybe show me the pictures of your relatives.
Carol, welcome.
I saw those.
Okay. So, do I need to say my name again? Carol
No,
McKay?
just speak into the mic, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I want to talk about the separation of art and history. And I do want to introduce myself that I'm an artist. I've been a professional artist for over 25 years. I collaborate with Robert Stackhouse. We do big pieces and small pieces. And we're currently in a show at the Ringling in Skywood 24. So I think that, although I appreciate your discussion about it, I just want to say that I hope you don't make a hasty response because of the events surrounding Stephen's work, which I am a good friend of Stephen's and admire him as an artist. When we look at the history of art, history permeates it. Just think of the famous David by Michelangelo, probably the most famous public art. We think of the history in the Shakespeare plays, which Shakespeare wouldn't be there without the history plays. We think of the memories of war and public events. Indeed, in the past, in history, people used to pay to have their faces in these things. And if we think currently of public art, we can think of the many images of Martin Luther King, of Nelson Mandela, and in big community pieces. For example, in Paducah, Kentucky, there's this incredible mural that's many, many panels that's on the confluence of the Ohio and the Mississippi that depicts the history of the river with people in it from the community in the past, gives the history of how the rivers worked, all the things. It's amazing. It's a beautiful piece, plus it tells a story. And if we think in Tarpon, we can think about the relatively recent piece by Elizabeth Indianos, which is clearly a history piece, and it has individual people. Indeed, there was a play that brought these people alive about the history of Tarpon. Now, nobody objected. Nobody talked about, let's distinguish art from history. It's just in this piece that Stephen did that there's been some controversy. So let's think of this as a learning experience. Okay, what did we learn from this? Don't wait for people to speak out or come to you. It's important to go to them. Robert and I have had these experiences. You go to people, you ask them, you invite them. You don't wait for them. You also, if you have particular people, you get releases. You go to them. You have them sign things that say, I agree to be part of this. This is just things you do. Now we've learned to do them in this city. So I say engage, 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 engage. Art isn't easy. It's not easy for the artist. It's not easy for the rest of us. But that's what art is. So, as we always say, art on.
Nick, do you need to leave?
I can wait if you want.
Okay.
Okay, I think we got.
Robert, you,
Okay, well, this was really a great discussion today, and it's something that I was going to say this at the very last, but I think something that's very important is the timing of this meeting. One, that it's happened, as Carol said, we've learned something from these experiences, and maybe, how do we include the community more in what your business is? How do we know what you're doing? And how do you get that out? And one of the things is that 2 p.m. is a really lousy time for people that work. A lot of the people that would be very involved in this, not only do that, they live maybe farther away. And maybe they can't get here. And so I know Carol is on a committee. They meet at 6 p.m. I mean, that seems to be a little bit more reasonable to me. I don't know whether it has something to do with scheduling or the availability of a room or whatever, but it seems to me that that's a protocol, that word's been used a lot, of not allowing people to participate. it kind of cuts out a major part of the Tarpon Springs community. And so that's something that just struck me as I came up here to this podium, that is really the most important thing I have to say. I think secondly, it really, I was very alarmed at the language I heard at the committee meeting the other day of the freewheeling kind of talking about really the separation of art and art history. And I'm going to use a word you use, Graham, what's overwhelming, if it's overwhelming. My position, my whole lifelong position, is it's overwhelming when an artist decides to do it. Mm-hmm. That's the important thing. That's what makes it overwhelming. You have no other conditions of what should be historical or not. It has to do with the artist. There's a process of culling those artists out if you need to. I mean, you do that. You cull out people. I remember all the committees, I mean, all the proposals I've had to deal with, all the calls to artists I've had to deal with. There are two basic things that I was not allowed to deal with. Carol and I are not allowed to deal with in subject matter for our art. You know what it is? Skeletons and nudes.
Wow.
So stay away from those if you're going to do public art. I don't know about the skeletons. I mean, I see them crawling all over Jeeps during Halloween and stuff. But anyway, those are the only things. And it's been Dawn said, and Nicholas, I think, said something about it, is that you're going to turn off artists by saying no history. Mm-hmm. From a historical town, it's just sending out really the wrong message right away. So I think one other aspect I just wanted to bring up, what Mr. Archie was bringing up too, about the Artists' Rights Act that Congress passed. Just junk on paper. We have been, every project we've done, we are asked to sign it, and we say no. Because what we're doing is giving our rights away. And basically what the rights are is it gives the city, usually they're the ones who like to do it, the rights to put a name on it. It gives them a right to name your artwork, right? It takes your possession away from you.
Stackhouse.
4 minutes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Juliana?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Good evening. The story, telling the story of a community, street by street, block by block. That is what art should show. Telling the story, not using falseness, false gods, but teaching our future children, even the ones that are still here, about the history and telling the story. Art is about a story. Once there was a storyteller who told the story, but remember, the story almost have to tell what it's about. In the end, there's always a conclusion, the beginning. We teach our children that in school. Remember that little spider web they used to do in school that you had to follow when you had to write an essay or something? Remember that when you're doing the art. Thank you.
Okay. Unless I hear any objections, I am going to adjourn the meeting at 3:58. Our next regular meeting is Wednesday, August 14th at, unfortunately, 2 p.m. I think, perhaps that should be a discussion, just rescheduling, so. Okay, see you all on August 14th.
All right.